right, we're here at my vermihut worm bin, and wow, the worms are all over the top. I love seeing this. So last time we were in here, we gave probably the biggest feeding I've ever given. It had banana peels, onions, pineapple pieces, apples, broccoli, carrot peels, and lettuce stalk. And in fact, so much food in here that it started to heat up. And on day 2 and 3, I added ice. And by day 4, it was back to just kind of room temperature. So we're gonna go ahead and dive in here, and I've got a really cool feeding for this time around plan. We are gonna put in a whole peach, and depending on what we find in here and how much food is left, we may give even more feeding. So I'm feeling some solid stuff in here. Let's see how they're doing and what is in here. Wow, look at them all. I love it. So I'm starting to feel, I think this is the pineapple. Yep, this is the end of pineapple that had been in here for the last 2 feedings. So probably somewhere between 15 and 18 days it's been in here. But this is the part right here that sticks to the pineapple, and then right here would be the rest of the pineapple. They are still going at it pretty well, and it's even more fibrous than last time. And then we put a lot of shredded cardboard in here because we wanted to continue to bulk this tray up, and we can see that on the bottom. And there's something else here. This looks like banana peel, and you know what, it's probably, yep, here is the mango seed. And I think now that I've helped them get in it, they are going for the cotyledons. So let's kind of open it up. I don't want to squish any as I'm doing this, but I can tell they are definitely inside of it. Let me see. Yep, right in there. We've got all kinds. They're definitely going for this seed area. It's got lots of nutrition for the seed itself and the new plant, so the worms absolutely love it, and they are treating it as like a little hidey-ho. All right, let's keep digging in here into our feeding zone and see what else is left. We had a lot of slow food in here, so I was expecting to see a little bit more. Right now we're just seeing kind of the usual suspects of banana peels, because I think we put in several of them. And I expect to see some more of the pineapple that we put in here. And yep, here's kind of the telltale sign of worms on my fingers, but also of the outside of a pineapple right there. So let's see if there's even more, because I think we had 3 or 4 chunks. So this is looking good. They did really good. Some tomato skin right here. And I'm feeling something else hard, probably the end of a banana. Yep, here's a piece of banana stalk right there. This will probably be in here until we put the tray. This part right here will be until we put the tray below to be the pre-harvest tray. So yeah, look at that. Looking good. More pineapple right there. So what we're gonna do now is we are just gonna, whoa, check that out. Right there, another piece of pineapple, and they are all throughout it. That right there is a little pineapple worm ball. Very cool. And inside here are some blue worms and red wigglers. This bin was started with 2,000, and really no one species has dominated. I've heard that blue worms will kind of take over, but the red wigglers are still doing okay in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this center feeding zone all throughout the bin, and then we'll come back and we'll set up our feeding zone so we can start our whole peach experiment. Can you imagine trying to count these?
No, so don't suggest it.
Oh my gosh, that was so painful. All right, so it looks like we have created another big feeding zone. So I'm gonna put down some bedding, and then we will add our whole peach and some other yummy food for them. One of the things I did want to do is I want to take some of these toilet paper rolls and just kind of put them like this and see if next time around we kind of get them hiding inside there, and maybe even create some worm balls or little worm hotels, Airbnbs for them, see if we get some in there. For some reason they like to go into hiding places. I don't know if that's because there's more oxygen in the gaps in there, or it's just they're away from other worms, or they like to be against edges and barriers. But anyway, I think we're gonna find some worms in there. And then of course we'll put on our cardboard shred bedding, and within that there's also some newspapers. So I'm gonna have to push them down a little bit so we have room for the food. And we will put on our banana peels that we kind of found, some pineapple chunks, and then the mango, of course. Actually, I'm gonna put the peach right here in the middle. So let me put this stuff to the side. And here we go. My mom was so proud. She had a molded old peach that she froze. So we are gonna put this monster right here in the middle for them. And it is previously frozen, so they should be able to get into the flesh. And unlike an apple, the peach has really juicy, easy fruit to get into and mush. So I'm expecting this peach to go much quicker than if I were to put a whole apple in here. So in addition to that peach, let's put down some slower to eat food, like some celery. I'm sorry, faster to eat food like celery and lettuce stalk. We'll add a little bit more celery. Peppers, they seem to go through really quick. We'll even add a little strawberry over here on this side, and this will kind of be our celery side. So I think that'll be good enough for the feeding here. This is really dense food. So I think this is pretty good for the 4,000 or so worms that we have in here, but let's go ahead and add some of our amendments. So in order to get rid of some of our expired pantry items, I've pulverized them in my Magic Bullet blender and created a worm chow, which I tested on some previous videos if you want to check those out, but I just lightly add it on here. We don't really want to add too much at a time. And then I like to take our used coffee and tea grounds and save them throughout the week, and then also add them to my worm bins. And that coffee is another food source for them, but this is pulverized eggshells, and this is a grit source for them. We just save our eggshells, wash them, or rinse them really quick and then let them dry out. And then again, I put these in a Magic Bullet blender and grind them up. So let's go ahead and bury the food up. And as we're doing that, I just want to let you know right now we have 4 trays on this, and this thing weighs about 40 pounds. So if you just got a vermihut and you've got 1 tray on it, you can get it all the way up to the 5, I suppose, if you want to make it that heavy. But I found that 3 to 4 trays is kind of where my bin likes to be. And if you did just get a new vermihut, or you are just starting a worm bin, I just want to remind you to leave any lid, if you are going to use a lid, off for the first 48 hours. We just restarted the tiny worm bin, and that thing has a lid that I've been using all the time, but whenever I restart a bin, the worms are just kind of confused. So you want to leave the lid off for 48 hours and put it in a room that you keep the light on for those whole 48 hours. And then the worms aren't going to climb up the edge because they don't like the light, and they will stay within the bin, and then they'll get used to it, and then you can start using your lid if you want. So this is looking good. Let's go ahead and add just a light spreading of worm chow. So same thing here. I just kind of put a little bit on at a time. I'm not going to pile it up whatsoever. So if you've just started a worm bin and you want to know how many worms you have as your population is increasing, I encourage you to check out my last video from the tiny worm bin where I counted out every single worm, and we came up with 1,008. And at each 100 mark, I took the worms and I kind of piled them up and showed you how many worms were within each 100. So like at 200 or 300 or 400. And then that might help you to gauge within your worm bin how many worms you have. So I'll go ahead and put a link to that video so that you can check it out. So that'll about do it for this feeding. Next time we come in here, we'll check on that peach. So I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing good. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.